Have you ever felt the profound spiritual weight of wondering what happens to your loved ones after they've passed? That deep, haunting question that keeps you awake at night. Where are they now, and are they suffering? This uncertainty creates a chasm in our hearts, a void that seems impossible to bridge. But what if you possessed the power to directly impact their eternal journey? What if a single action you take today could transform their spiritual reality and bring them closer to heavenly peace? This is the extraordinary truth that Padre Pio, one of the most mystically gifted saints of our time, revealed through his profound spiritual insights. The wisdom Padre Pio shares about the Holy Mass and its power to transform the fate of souls in purgatory isn't just another pious belief. It's a spiritual reality with tremendous consequences that most people never fully comprehend. Before I share this life-changing revelation that has transformed countless lives and brought peace to thousands of troubled hearts, you must understand something essential about the unique spiritual authority Padre Pio possessed. This humble Capuchin friar, who bore the wounds of Christ for over 50 years, had a special relationship with souls in purgatory. They would often visit him, seeking his prayers and revealing to him their condition. Through these mystical encounters, Padre Pio gained unparalleled insight into what happens in the spiritual realm when a mass is offered for a departed soul. You stand at a crossroads of spiritual power that few truly recognize, a place where your decisions can alter the eternal journey of those you've loved and lost. The teaching that Padre Pio revealed about offering masses for souls isn't merely a devotional practice. It's a spiritual lifeline that connects heaven, earth, and purgatory. When you understand and apply this teaching, you'll possess a spiritual tool of immeasurable value that can bring comfort not only to departed souls, but also to your own heart. The veil between our world and the next is thinner than most imagine, and your actions here can create ripples of grace that reach into eternity itself. Imagine standing before a massive, impenetrable wall separating you from someone you deeply love. You can hear their faint calls from the other side, calls of longing, of needing something only you can provide. This wall represents the barrier between our physical world and purgatory, where souls undergo their final purification before entering heaven's glory. Padre Pio described this realm not as a place of punishment, but as a sacred space of preparation, where souls are refined like gold in a furnace, shedding their remaining imperfections before entering the perfect presence of God. Yet despite this purposeful process, Padre Pio revealed that souls in purgatory experience an intense longing, a spiritual thirst that cannot be quenched by their own efforts. What makes this spiritual reality both heartbreaking and hopeful is that while these souls can no longer help themselves, you hold the key to their relief. Padre Pio explained that when you request a mass for a departed soul, something miraculous happens at the moment of consecration. The blood of Christ, the same blood that flowed from his wounds on Calvary, becomes spiritually present on the altar. This blood, infinitely precious and powerful, cascades like a cleansing waterfall upon the soul for whom the Mass is offered. The soul experiences immediate relief, a divine refreshment that soothes their spiritual thirst and accelerates their purification process. One Mass, offered with sincere faith, can accomplish more for a soul than years of their own passive suffering. You might wonder, if this is true, why haven't I heard more about this spiritual power? The answer lies in our increasingly materialistic world that has lost touch with spiritual realities. Many people today are so focused on the visible, tangible aspects of life that they neglect the profound spiritual connections that exist beyond our physical senses. Padre Pio, with his extraordinary spiritual gifts, could see what remains invisible to most, the tremendous impact of each Mass offered for a soul. He often described witnessing souls being elevated closer to heaven during these Masses, their countenance transforming from suffering to joy as divine grace washed over them. This isn't merely symbolic language. It's the reality of what happens in the spiritual realm when you take this simple yet profound action. The power of the Mass for souls in purgatory operates on a principle that Padre Pio explained with beautiful simplicity. Love transcends the boundaries between this world and the next. When you offer a Mass for someone, you're essentially extending your love across the veil of death, creating a bridge of grace that connects your heart to theirs. This bridge becomes a conduit through which Christ's redemptive sacrifice flows directly to that soul. Padre Pio would often say that a single Mass offered with fervent love can accomplish more for a soul than countless casual prayers or even formal morning rituals. This is because the Mass is not merely your action, it's Christ's action in which you participate. When you unite your intention with the perfect sacrifice of Jesus, you tap into the most powerful spiritual force in existence. What makes this teaching even more remarkable is how it transforms our understanding of death itself. Through Padre Pio's revelations, we discover that death is not the end of our ability to help those we love. In some ways, it's just the beginning of a new kind of relationship. The souls in purgatory, while unable to help themselves, remain deeply connected to us through the communion of saints. They recognize when Masses are offered for them. They feel the effects immediately. Padre Pio described how these souls would express overwhelming gratitude during his mystical encounters with them, often revealing how a single Mass had advanced them significantly closer to heaven's gates. This isn't distant theological speculation. It's the testimony of a saint who witnessed these spiritual realities firsthand. Your decision to embrace this teaching could be the most significant spiritual action you take, not just for others, but for yourself. If you believe this revelation from Padre Pio can transform your relationship with those who have passed away, bringing peace to their souls and comfort to your heart, type in the comments, "I am ready to offer this blessing." Subscribe to our channel for more profound spiritual insights that can transform your life and the lives of those you love. Remember, what you do in this physical realm has eternal consequences in the spiritual realm. The choice to act on this knowledge doesn't just benefit departed souls, it deepens your own faith and connects you more intimately with the divine mysteries that shape our existence. Padre Pio often spoke of a spiritual economy that operates beyond our material understanding, a divine exchange where every Mass offered creates ripples of grace that extend far beyond what we can comprehend. When you arrange for a Mass to be celebrated for a departed soul, you're essentially investing in their eternal happiness. In his mystical experiences, Padre Pio witnessed how this spiritual investment yields returns that no earthly transaction could ever match. During one particularly moving encounter, he described seeing a soul's suffering diminish dramatically after a single Mass was offered, like watching heavy chains of attachment fall away, link by link, setting the soul freer with each prayer uttered during the liturgy. This vision reveals something profound about the nature of purgatory itself. It's not an arbitrary punishment, but a necessary process of liberation from all that binds us to our earthly imperfections. The transformation that occurs during a Mass offered for a soul follows a pattern that Padre Pio described in detail. First, at the moment the priest speaks the words of consecration, the soul becomes aware of being specially remembered. This awareness alone brings comfort, the knowledge that they haven't been forgotten, that someone on earth still cares enough to invoke the highest spiritual good on their behalf. Second, as the body and blood of Christ become present on the altar, a stream of purifying grace flows directly to that soul, washing away the remaining effects of sin and attachment. Finally, as the Mass concludes, the soul experiences a heightened state of peace and joy, having been drawn measurably closer to their ultimate destination, the beatific vision of God. This threefold process doesn't just change their current state, it accelerates their entire journey toward heaven. You might wonder about the lasting impact of such an offering. Padre Pio assured his spiritual children that the effects of a Mass are not momentary but enduring. Unlike material gifts that decay or are consumed, the spiritual benefits of a Mass continue to nourish the soul long after the liturgy ends. He compared it to planting a seed in fertile soil. Once planted, it continues to grow and produce fruit beyond the initial act of planting. This is why the tradition of offering Masses for the dead has persisted throughout Christian history. It's not a mere cultural practice. but a response to a spiritual reality that transcends time and space. When you understand this, you recognize that arranging for a Mass to be celebrated is perhaps the most significant act of love you can perform for someone who has departed this life. There exists a profound mystical connection between the altar of sacrifice and the souls in purgatory that few fully comprehend. Padre Pio described this connection with a powerful metaphor. The Mass is like a spiritual faucet that, when turned on, releases a torrent of Christ's redeeming blood that flows directly to the souls for whom it's offered. This is no poetic exaggeration, but a spiritual reality that Padre Pio witnessed countless times during his mystical experiences. He would often see souls gathered around the altar during Mass, waiting with eager anticipation for the spiritual refreshment that would come to them through the sacred liturgy. Their thirst for this divine grace was so intense that Padre Pio could sometimes hear their spiritual voices calling out in longing as the Mass began. The moment of consecration, when bread and wine become the body and blood of Christ, is particularly significant in this spiritual exchange. Padre Pio revealed that at this precise moment, the soul for whom the Mass is offered experiences a profound elevation. It's as if they're being lifted up by invisible hands, carried closer to the light of heaven. The pain of separation from God that constitutes the core suffering of purgatory is temporarily relieved, replaced by a foretaste of the divine presence they will one day enjoy fully. This relief is proportional to the fervor and intention behind the offering. A Mass requested with deep love and faith generates more powerful effects than one offered as a mere formality. This is why Padre Pio encouraged not just offering Masses but participating in them whenever possible, uniting your prayers with the perfect sacrifice of Christ. What makes this spiritual reality even more compelling is how it transforms our understanding of time and eternity. In our earthly perception, we might think that souls who died years or even centuries ago are beyond our reach. Yet Padre Pio taught that in the spiritual realm, time operates differently. Our prayers and Mass offerings can reach backward and forward across what we perceive as time. A Mass offered today can benefit a soul who departed this life decades ago, because in the spiritual economy of grace, all moments are present to God. This understanding should fill you with hope, knowing that it's never too late to help someone you've loved and lost. Even if years have passed since their departure, your decision to offer a Mass for them today can bring them immediate comfort and acceleration toward their heavenly home. The efficacy of a Mass offered for a soul in purgatory rests upon three spiritual pillars that Padre Pio emphasized throughout his ministry. The first pillar is the infinite value of Christ's sacrifice. Each Mass is not a new sacrifice, but the same sacrifice of Calvary made present in our time. When you request a Mass for a departed soul, you're essentially placing that soul at the foot of Christ's cross, where the stream of redemption flows most powerfully. Padre Pio explained that this is why a single Mass can accomplish what years of purgatorial suffering might achieve, because it applies directly to the soul the merits of Christ's perfect offering. This first pillar reminds us that the power of the Mass comes not from our worthiness, but from Christ's perfect love, expressed through his sacrifice. The second pillar is the communion of saints, that mysterious but real connection between all members of Christ's body, whether living on earth, being purified in purgatory, or already glorified in heaven. When you offer a Mass for someone, you're activating this communion in a profound way, creating a bridge of grace that connects your heart, the celebrating priest, the entire church, and the soul for whom the Mass is offered. Padre Pio often spoke of witnessing this communion made visible during the Mass, seeing angels and saints gathered around the altar, joining their prayers with those of the faithful on earth. This second pillar reminds us that we never pray alone. Our intentions are amplified by the entire mystical body of Christ. The third pillar is personal intention and love, the spiritual disposition with which you request the Mass. Padre Pio taught that while every Mass has objective value independent of human feelings, the subjective benefits that flow to a particular soul are amplified by the love and faith behind the offering. He would encourage his spiritual children not merely to arrange for masses to be said, but to participate in them whenever possible, uniting their hearts with the sacred liturgy. This third pillar reminds us that our personal involvement matters, that God honors the love that motivates our spiritual actions. When you offer a Mass with heartfelt devotion for someone you've loved and lost, that love becomes part of the offering itself, adding a unique dimension to the graces that flow to that soul. The stories Padre Pio shared about souls who benefited from Masses offered for them reveal a consistent pattern of dramatic spiritual transformation. One account involves a woman who appeared to him after her death, surrounded by flames that symbolized her purgatorial suffering. She begged him to ask her son to have a Mass offered for her soul. When this request was fulfilled, she appeared again to Padre Pio, this time surrounded by light, expressing gratitude for the tremendous relief she had received. "One Mass," she told him, "has done more for me than all the prayers and tears of my family combined." This testimony highlights a profound truth. While our emotional expressions of grief are natural and good, they don't directly benefit the souls of our departed loved ones the way a Mass can. Padre Pio also described how souls in purgatory experience the passage of time differently than we do. What might seem like a brief liturgy to us, perhaps an hour of our earthly time, can feel like an extensive period of relief to a soul undergoing purification. One soul revealed to him that during the celebration of a Mass offered for her, she experienced what felt like days of relief from her suffering. This distortion of time is part of the mystery of purgatory, a realm where spiritual realities take precedence over physical ones. Understanding this should motivate you to be diligent in arranging Masses for those who have died, knowing that what requires minimal effort from you can produce maximum comfort for them. These accounts reveal something else too, the profound gratitude that souls feel toward those who remember them in this way. Padre Pio often spoke of souls who, once released from purgatory partly through the Masses offered for them, became powerful intercessors for their benefactors. This creates a beautiful cycle of spiritual benefit. Your offering of a Mass helps a soul move closer to heaven, and that soul, in turn, prays for you with increasing spiritual clarity and power. This mutual exchange of spiritual goods is part of the economy of grace that operates within the communion of saints. By participating in this exchange through the offering of Masses, you're not only helping others but also cultivating powerful friendships that extend beyond the grave into eternity itself. The practice of offering Masses for the dead isn't merely a pious tradition, it's a spiritual investment with eternal returns. Padre Pio explained this concept using the language of spiritual banking. Every Mass offered becomes like a deposit in a divine account that continues to accrue spiritual interest. This is because the Mass, being Christ's perfect sacrifice made present, has infinite merit in itself. When applied to a soul in purgatory, this merit doesn't just help in the moment, but continues to work on their behalf. Padre Pio would often use this understanding to comfort those grieving the loss of loved ones, assuring them that their spiritual investments would yield continuous benefits for those they longed to help. This understanding transforms how we approach the death of those we love. Instead of feeling helpless in the face of their passing, we recognize that we hold a spiritual key that can unlock extraordinary grace for them. Padre Pio taught that arranging for a Mass to be celebrated is an act of mercy that surpasses any material tribute we might offer. While flowers at a grave wither and monuments eventually crumble, the spiritual benefits of a Mass endure beyond time itself. This perspective doesn't diminish the value of remembering our loved ones through physical memorials, but it reminds us that our most significant offerings are spiritual ones. When you request a Mass for someone who has died, you're participating in a form of remembrance that touches eternity. Padre Pio also emphasized that this practice creates a spiritual communion that transcends death itself. When you arrange for a Mass to be celebrated for someone, you're not merely remembering them, you're actively participating in their ongoing spiritual journey. This creates a mysterious but real connection between your heart and theirs, a bridge across the apparent chasm of death. Many who have followed Padre Pio's counsel in this matter report a profound sense of closeness to their departed loved ones during Masses offered for them. a closeness that brings comfort and peace even in the midst of grief. This spiritual communion doesn't erase the pain of separation, but it infuses that pain with hope, transforming mourning into a more profound form of love that extends beyond the grave. The wisdom Padre Pio shared about offering masses for souls in purgatory culminates in a practical invitation, one that requires action rather than mere intellectual assent. He would often say, "Don't wait until tomorrow to help a soul who can be helped today." This urgency stems from his mystical insight into the suffering of souls in purgatory, a suffering that, while temporary, is more intense than anything we experience in this life. When you understand this reality, procrastination becomes impossible. Each day that passes without taking action is another day a soul remains in purification when they could be experiencing relief. This is why Padre Pio would constantly encourage his spiritual children to make the offering of masses a regular practice, not just an occasional response to grief. Implementing this teaching involves 3 simple steps that anyone can take. First, make a list of departed loved ones for whom you wish to offer masses, family members, friends, even those who may have no one else to pray for them. Second, contact your local parish or religious community to arrange for these masses to be celebrated. Most churches have systems in place for this purpose, and the customary offering for a mass intention is typically modest. Third, whenever possible, participate personally in these masses, uniting your prayers with the perfect sacrifice of Christ. Padre Pio emphasized that while having a mass offered by a priest is powerful in itself, your personal participation multiplies its efficacy. This threefold approach transforms an ancient spiritual practice into a contemporary act of mercy that connects heaven and earth. The greatest testimony to the power of this teaching comes from those who have experienced its effects firsthand. Countless individuals who followed Padre Pio's counsel report a deep sense of peace after arranging for masses to be celebrated for their departed loved ones. Many describe intuitive experiences of gratitude, dreams, thoughts, or feelings that seem to come from beyond themselves, suggesting that their offerings have indeed made a difference. While such experiences aren't necessary for the practice to be effective, they serve as beautiful confirmations of the spiritual reality Padre Pio described. Tonight, before you sleep, take the first step in this direction. Decide on at least one soul for whom you will offer a mass. This simple decision, followed by action, can initiate a stream of grace that will flow into eternity itself. Don't postpone this act of mercy. What you can do today for a soul in purgatory shouldn't be delayed until tomorrow.